Well, welcome everybody to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that is committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles as introduced by Sydney Banks to people throughout the world. And today we're also delighted to have with us Stephanie Benedetto. And Stephanie is a very good friend and co-conspirator. You may know her in one of her many roles as a coach, as a teacher, facilitator, a creative conversationalist, and just most of all, an all-around great person who has a beautiful understanding of the three principles, and I think is all about sharing it with people in a way that is joyful and that is also very helpful. So with that introduction, I will turn it over to you, Steph.
Wow. Thank you, Tom. I like that. He didn't have my bio and we decided he was going to have to wing it. And I said, I think you can handle it. And I like that. I like that winging it. So I'm going to come back to the invitation for this particular conversation. And I'm reading it for myself and also for us, because I want to encourage you if you have a question that comes up, or maybe something that you're seeing about this, I would love to hear it. I would love for you to share. So I titled this Sharing from the Heart, Impact and Loving Service. What creates the deepest impact in sharing? If your life has been touched by the understanding and love unlocked through seeing the three principles at work in your life, like mine has, it's likely you'll want to share this gift with others. You don't need training or an enlightenment experience to impact your loved ones and clients. The simple sharing of the truth you've seen, no matter how small you may judge it to be, is more than enough. We'll explore what creates impact and discover how natural and joyful sharing can be as we drop into presence and connection together. I've been in the conversation of what we call the three principles for about 7 years now. And I think I didn't really get it for about 3 years. And when I say I didn't get it, I did get it. I felt it. I felt how lovely it was. But it wasn't until about 3 years in that I saw something. And that something for me was seeing something about thought that I'd never seen before. I was at an in-person event with a gentleman called Michael Neal, who has ushered in such great blessings in my life. And I heard him say the sentence, I have a thought, I call it a belief, and then I need a process to get rid of it. And I went, what? What did you just say? I had heard him say this before or something like it. I had probably said something like it myself. Beliefs or thoughts. But in that moment, I saw that every morning I had been trained as a belief change coach. So that meant that I helped people identify their limiting beliefs and then change them for better ones. And I used to do that for myself. So every morning I would spend, I don't know, at least 10 or 15 minutes going, what limiting beliefs are ready to be cleared today? And then doing my processes and things to do that. And in that moment, with that sentence, I saw that all of those things I was calling limiting beliefs and acting like they were embedded in me somehow, that I had to get them out, were thoughts like any other thought, like the most random thought, like the thought of how beautiful the sky is, or the random thought of pink elephants running across the ceiling, or any other thought, that I didn't have to get rid of them because they come and go on their own. And it was such a powerful thing to see for me in that moment, even though, as I said, I had heard Michael say it before. I'd probably said it before, that from that moment forward, the very next morning, I no longer needed to I stopped doing my little processes and my belief change stuff because it just didn't look like it made sense to me anymore. And that was really the beginning of something that's kept unfolding for me since. And I keep seeing things that I've seen before, except more deeply, and seeing things that I would have told you that I saw, but now that I've seen them, I know that I haven't. I didn't. And every time it feels like there is less for me to do and more for me to enjoy in life. And by less for me to do, I mean there's less that I have to do, but I get to do a ton of cool shit. And I'll tell you a bit about the most transformational event I've ever been to, which I've been to a lot of transformational experiences, lots inside the Three Principles community and many outside of that in different traditions, spiritual traditions, personal development traditions, coaching trainings. And this event in March was the most powerful for me. It was a small group, and we didn't really do anything. There were no breakout groups or activities. There certainly were no processes. And yet, some of the insights that landed, that had been in motion, that landed and went deeper during those 2 days, were the most profound I'd ever experienced. And it was the deepest connection I'd ever felt on a whole with a group of people. I could feel the presence in the room. And I knew I could hear in the words that people shared that every single person there was transformed, was touched deeply. I even spoke to the facilitators afterward because I was like, does this happen at all your events? And they were like, no, this was different. Even for them, it was different. And I sat with it afterward because one of the things I've been up to lately is helping people who want to share a message in their heart to do it with greater impact and greater ease, both. I want the whole package. Deeply impactful and fully enjoyable. And so I really was sitting with that, like, what was it about that event that made it different? And there were 3 things that came to mind. And I'm going to tell you the things I think are of lesser importance first, because I want to spend time on the thing that I think. I don't know this for sure, but I highly suspect this is the one thing that made the biggest difference. It's the one thing that made everything else easier or possibly even inevitable. So this was a conversation about the nature of being human that we were in. And when we have that conversation, when we look in the direction of truth, what's true for us as humans, what's universally true, when we look within us for the truth that lives there, we see. And we were doing that during this weekend. It was a simple conversation about what it is to be human, where our experience comes from, things I'd heard before. And there were people there who were hearing this for the first time. But because I've had other transformational experiences in the Three Principles community that were all about that, that can't be the one thing that made the biggest difference to me, although it definitely stacks the deck for insight, makes it more likely that impact will happen, that I will hear something. The second thing, which I think is really important, is that everybody there, to a large degree, was willing to be impacted. The facilitators, the way that they showed up, I could tell that they were being impacted. They weren't teachers looking down at the rest of us. They were in it with us. They were in the exploration, actively looking with us, being impacted. And each of us there, I could tell by the way people were showing up, what they were saying, the questions they were asking, that they were open and willing to see something new. And that is really important in creating impact. Although sometimes it can even happen by accident. When I'm not willing, wisdom gets through anyway. But the third thing, and I think this is really what set it up for us. This was the thing that I think makes the biggest difference when it comes to creating impact in what you share. And that's being heartfelt. And what I mean by being heartfelt is being in the feeling of truth, being in the feeling of this moment, being present here, feeling and speaking from that place. Because what I saw, that I've never seen a group of people, I don't know if that's true, but I've never been at an event. You know, a lot of times you go to an in-person event and there are people you don't know, and there's this strange awkwardness in the beginning of like, you know, like a lot of times people do that. I felt like we skipped that almost entirely because the two coaches who were facilitating were so heartfelt from the very start. It was just so beautiful, the presence of being with them, that it was an invitation for each of us to join them there. And we said yes to it. From what I could see, everyone said yes to it, some probably more than others, but it was so powerful that it took all of us deeper so quickly. And it wasn't the kind of bonding that I'd felt at other events. Like I've been to yoga retreats and things where we do these exercises and go through these things and we feel like we're close. Because I actually didn't feel personally connected to the people there, but I felt so much love. But it wasn't like I felt like I needed to keep in touch with them afterward, which was curious to me, right? But we were in this space of heartfelt presence, and we pretty much stayed there the whole time, or if we left, we came right back. And as I've reflected on this, I would say if there is one thing that makes the biggest difference in creating impact, whether it's with a message you're writing or sharing, or the words that you speak, or the work that you do as a coach or a counselor or a consultant or a friend in your communication, it's coming from that heartfelt space. And you know what it is by how it feels. And no matter what it is you're doing, who it is you're with, it makes us more impactful. Because the space itself, the feeling itself, is an invitation. It's something that that person or those people with us can feel. And if they look there with you, it is nourishing, it is nurturing, it is the space with everything that we're looking for. And that's it. Just the feeling before you even say a word. And then when you speak from that place, sometimes it helps other people to look a little deeper. And I think the thing that's so important, that happens when we're being heartfelt is that we're real. So I can't be heartfelt and borrow somebody else's insight and give it to you because it won't feel real. It won't feel like it's coming from my heart. And that's okay. I've caught myself doing it. I've caught myself talking about something and borrowing my mentor's words and hearing them in my mouth and going, that's about that doesn't feel quite like me. And then, oh, let me try again from what I've seen. Because I believe it was Sydney Banks who said this. One spiritual fact can change your life. Seeing one spiritual fact, like that one spiritual fact that I talked about, I shared with you right away about, wow, my beliefs are thought and I don't have to change them. They change on their own. Wow, I am feeling my thinking in this moment. Like, really, if I've seen it, no matter how tiny I think that insight or spiritual fact might be, there's one that I've felt through my dear friend Tom here, who's spoken about it before. He says, I've heard him say, every time it occurs to me to ask, like, is there joy here? Is there peace here? Is there a nice feeling here? There's always something. And that doesn't seem like a lot at first glance. It might seem, maybe from my judgment, my insight, seems too small to make a difference. But it's not the words you use to talk about it. It's not the information. It's the feeling and where it comes from. It's what it points to. It's what it points to that creates the impact. And that's not anything you have to do. You don't do that to someone. You can't make that happen to someone and you can't give it to someone, but you can feel it. And in feeling it, invite them to feel it inside of themselves. And that is what changes lives. That is what woke me up. Even before I had my quote unquote insight, I was seeing things. I was feeling things. Things were moving, they were shifting. And it all really happened in a feeling. And the understanding helped me take it. Helped me take it deeper, helped me make those connections. And it's in my heart to share this with you because I know, at least I strongly suspect, that each of you here feels that something you want to share, something you've seen that you know would be helpful for others. And I want you to know that it's really simple. and that it's not something you have to worry about. It's something you can actually relax into and allow to come to you. And it's not even necessarily your words that are going to do it. So I'd love to know what you're seeing about this, especially if it's something new that's occurring to you, or if there's a question that you'd like to ask. Please do.
Yeah,
And
and you,
Master Tom will help us out.
yeah, and you can feel free to raise your hand, your digital hand. And if you don't know where that is, if you go down to the reactions button at the bottom, you'll see a little button there to raise your hand. And this is a beautiful opportunity to chat here with Steph. So please take advantage.
Well, you know Tom will.
Yeah, don't make me.
I see Lisa's hand. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Yeah, I haven't been able to be on the live chat in a while, so this is really beautiful and nice. I'm sorry I was late. Um, no, that is a really good reminder about that you don't have to do anything with the thoughts, and yeah. But I do really like love when I can just like be with the person, and yeah, when someone's coming in distressed with all these different issues going on, but just to kind of give them, even like I had somebody new yesterday, I'm a therapist, that came in and was just thinking she needed a work note and was just kind of dealing with a lot of pretty difficult things, but just, yeah, I was able, yeah, just to share some things about looking at things in a different way. And I could just tell it was resonating with her. And I was, yeah, it was just like, I feel like we just had a really good conversation. It was just really lovely. Yeah. And it's like really how therapy has shifted for me since I found the three principles and how, again, how much lighter. And yeah. And again, I get caught up and I sometimes, yeah, get too wrapped up in techniques and things, but it's like I come back and yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here. And it's, yeah, I just like that reminder about yeah, we don't have to do anything and just, yeah, let it flow and let it be with, yeah, wherever we are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous, Lisa. And I'm so happy that she had you to just be with her and listen and share some things that might be helpful.
Yeah.
And that caring means so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. I think my little mind really likes to do things and has been taught that doing things is valuable,
Mhm.
is what makes things happen. And so it's kind of strange at first to even contemplate, like, really? Less? I don't need to do? Like, really? But the the less we have on our mind, which is what we tend to do, is like overthink
Mhm.
when we need to do. And the less we have on our mind, the more spacious it is, or the less seriously we take what comes into our mind. I mean, even as I'm sitting here, sometimes it's like a stray thought whipping through, and okay, it's not a problem at all. It's just coming right back here. This is where everything is happening, not in my head where I'm making up imaginary conversations with people.
I heard that from somebody like, yeah, if you're having a conversation, and they're not there, then you might need to wait till you see them. Like, and you feel these scenarios in your head about the different conversations or argue
Oh,
with them in your head. Yeah.
oh my God, or writing emails or letters that I'm not actually writing in my head, right? And nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, I have done that a lot, but when I notice it, I'm like, what about what's right here? And that in conversation with someone, that being with someone is beautiful. And an invitation for them to settle down and see that without you saying a word about it. You don't say settle down. You're just showing them in your presence. It's gorgeous. Thanks, Lisa. Hi, Rick.
There we go. Found the mute button or the unmute button. Hey, yeah, great to be here. I'll share what's uh, recently happening, I guess. So my dad spent a month in the hospital. He's 94 years old, and he got released last week and didn't thrive so well back. I look after him, and so we ended up sending him back to the hospital on Sunday. And I go every day and visit and keep him company and stuff. And what I find interesting and helpful with the grounding that I have is just listening to the flow of thought that's going through his head.
Mm.
From I want this to be over, like I've had enough of this life. Fair enough. To if I only have one more thrill, I want to go skydiving. It's like, whoa, hey, right? Um, but what is so on offer all the time is, even though he has this thought of, I've had enough, get me out of here. Um, I don't have to do anything about that. There was a time in my life I would have, oh, Dad, you shouldn't be thinking those thoughts. You should be, it's like you've got so much more to live for. You've got all that kind of dialogue. But just to sort of relax and go, okay, yeah, of course she's feeling that way. I mean, I probably would too if that's how I viewed everything. And then to see almost in the next breath about, geez, I wonder what the hockey game's going to be like, or kind of a thing. So it's just to allow it to flow seems so, and understanding that the nature of thought is to flow, and my interference is just holding back that flow
Mm.
of fresh and new. So it's, yeah, I mean, I sometimes I consciously have to remind myself that, hey, wait a minute, you know. But yeah, other than that, it is light and not heavy, and life goes on, kind of a thing. So it's anyway, thought I'd share that.
Do you notice, Rick? Can you tell an impact or what seems to be helpful for your dad as you do that?
I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm consciously sort of aware of, other than that we are resting in kind of a beautiful feeling, in the sense that we're just having a good conversation, you know, and oftentimes I see a boy sitting in the bed instead of a 94-year-old man, you know. it's
Wow.
it's quite touching, actually.
Mm,
Yeah,
nothing other than sitting in a nice feeling together.
absolutely. 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 Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's so precious and so valuable. I I just met a woman for the first time um a little bit before this call. And I had shared something about a recent experience I had. So this was me sharing how fear has been dropping away from my life in the last couple months. Like fear I didn't even know I was living with, because it just looked like that was the world, or I don't know. So I've been sharing about it because that's one of the things that I do, is share what I am seeing. And this woman responded in a comment in a forum that I'm a member of, and she said she had recently seen something about anxiety herself and she's feeling so much more freedom. And so I commented back and I said, hey, you want to get together and compare notes and share our freedom stories? Now, this is not a woman from the Three Principles community. And I could tell by her comment that she was seeing something, but it was quite different than what I was seeing, and that was all okay. But it just occurred to me there was no real intention behind it other than like, hey, I wonder if she wants to talk. Let's see. And she did, and so we met. And she shared her story with me of what she's been going through and what she's been seeing. And it occurred to me to reflect to her what I was hearing in it, which was a whole lot of wisdom, and that she's seeing that the anxiety she was experiencing wasn't the world. It was happening in her. And now it's like a whole new world has opened up to her. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And then she asked me what I'd seen and what I did to make it happen. Right. So I shared with her a bit about what I've been seeing and what I have seen since encountering the three principles. And there was just a lovely feeling. It was not coaching. It was not teaching. It was just two people hanging out and sharing experiences they've had and insights that they had seen and listening and learning from each other. That's what it was. And it was just lovely. Had a very nice feeling. It reminds me of what you were saying, Rick, about just two people having a nice conversation, hanging out in a nice feeling. And that's it. And it was so great because sometimes I have conversations with people and I have something on it and I can tell because it feels tense. And that's good. It's actually good that I can feel it because then I know what's going on and I know to come back home. And this one just felt so easy. It was nice. And this is also a space if you'd like to share something that you're seeing. It doesn't have to be about sharing or impact. It could just be a chance for you to share with a group of people who would love to listen the truth that's made a difference for you, if you want to. Jay Enrique?
Yes, Enrique.
Enrique.
Yes. Hi, Stephanie. It's good.
Hi.
It's good to be here with you all. I am grateful for you mentioning this. I like the fact that you said that seeing one spiritual fact can change my life. That's really hopeful. And I'm glad that you mentioned two quickly. I'm glad that you said, I'm always feeling what is in my mind. And I add at the moment, yes, I am aware of that. I'm always feeling what is going on in my mind. And then I heard in my head, I don't know if you said it, but I heard, and what is in my mind at the moment is transient, so no need to worry about it. So that's a beautiful piece. I'm really grateful. It's a blessing to understand these things and to know them and to share with others. And I would like to hear a little bit more about what you said at the beginning. You mentioned 3 points, but the first one to me, it was like you said something about what is it to be human, and if people know where their experience is coming from. I am very clear about where my experience is coming from, and yet from the place that I come as a Colombian man, and my culture and my religion and my life history, I believe that I am, as a human being, I'm a body with what we call the operating system, with the intellect, my psychological being, memories, knowledge, all of that, the interpretations that I give to things. But then again, besides that, I am that intelligent life force which animates the whole system. And I would like to hear a little bit more about how you define being human. I tell you how I see it, so you know more or less what's going on in my head.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it sounds like you've seen quite a bit about what it means to be human from what you're saying.
Well, I've been hanging out with this group long enough, so
You're catching on to something. Something's catching into you. Oh, I had a conversation about this. Once a month, I do a free gathering called Wellspring. And it just occurred to me as I was jumping into this Zoom. So it's really just a gathering for curious humans to be together and explore. And it occurred to me, what does it mean to be human? So I was asking myself that very question, like, what does that mean? And so as people came in, I said, I thought it would be kind of cool to explore what's true about being human. Like, what's true for all of us? And the kind of things that came up were based on what people were sharing. So someone would share a situation that was happening and a story they were telling themselves about what it meant. And I would say, well, what's occurring to me, what's true, one of the things that's true about being human is that we make up meanings for things all the time and don't realize we're doing it. And that's cool. That's how we can tell stories, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we don't see that we're doing it, sometimes we end up creating worlds with those stories and then living inside them as if they're true and creating suffering for ourselves. So sometimes that's what we do as humans. And someone else was talking about how they give themselves a hard time, like, oh yeah, sometimes humans are really good at making up meanings of, we're just sharing the human experience. And we could just keep going. Like, what's true? I mean, broadly, yes, we think, and yes, we absolutely are the intelligence of life. This is another thing that came out of it. What does it mean to be human? You know, that thing that occurred to you to do, like how it occurred to Rick to just let the thoughts flow with his dad. Something inside of him, this intelligence was guiding him, was nudging him in that direction. And he listened to it. And everybody's got that. And sometimes we listen to it and sometimes we don't listen to it. That's true about humans, And it's just like sort of a wondering for me, because honestly, I don't know everything about what it means to be human. I feel like I could probably explore that my whole life and constantly see something new. We're so creative. This is true about humans. We are creating all day long. Even when we sleep, we never stop creating with thought. And we also create with our hands and our bodies and we have create conversations and meals and families, communities. We build things. Wow, isn't that cool? Humans are creative. We create as humans. So I don't know if that answers your question a bit. I feel like I could keep exploring. Or you could. We could.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Every little bit helps. It's like another layer, and it helps me get a better idea. I also like the idea when you said about little mind. Sometimes it does stories, and I see that I can use the mind as an obstacle creator. I would say that little mind that is here separate. but I also can use the mind as an options creator. Like if I'm open to whatever.
Mm.
And it's a beautiful way for me to experience that, yes, mine is available and I can use it here uptight or open. And I'm grateful that for this community, and I'm grateful for you speaking this way about it. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for sharing too. I hear lots of what you're saying. Gorgeous. Look at that. Another thing about humans is our capacity to learn and grow and have insights and go deeper just by being with something. Hi, Lisa.
Yeah, I also had really found it helpful to think about like when we get stuck in like negative things or worries about the future, like thinking about that as imagination too. And that helps me kind of put it into perspective a little bit. So that word's been helping me like thinking about it like imagination, because it's like it feels so real about this potentially could happen, or when you get like wrapped up in something in the future. So
Ooh, have you shared that with some of your
I
clients?
have, yeah, yeah,
I was thinking that would
yeah,
be so alive for you and that word in particular. And when I hear it from you, what I hear
yeah,
is, oh yeah, I'm imagining this. It's not happening now.
yeah,
So helpful to see.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Stephanie. Good to be with you. Good to be with all of you. The magic of a smile, especially a smile that seems to come from deep inside, so beautiful. There are a couple things that you said that resonated with me. But I guess the one that's coming up right now was, I don't know whether you referenced Tom in saying this, but is there happiness here? Is there joy here? I thought, what a great question, because it doesn't, for me, it doesn't always show up as this big insight, this big relief, but that question just seems like a quiet voice that's there, that if you ask for it, it sort of shows up quietly, calmly. And I think that's where the smile comes from. That was a beautiful inquiry, little question. I love what you said about the feeling, about speaking from the feeling. It's so easy to get caught up. I got to say the right word. I got to say something. As soon as I start thinking that way, then I can feel it getting tighter. Um, but to trust the feeling and to trust the silence can be magical. So thanks for that. And I guess the one thing that's been alive for me, I volunteer at the local county jail, and I just started up another group, and I had a new guy, and we're just going around and sharing and just trying to build rapport and get to know them. And then he points to another guy who had been in my group before and is interested in all the Sid Banks stuff and wants to read the books. And he said, Smurf asked me how I was. And so I told him I felt comfortable enough to tell him what was really going on for me. That it was a magical moment in that group that this guy just says, somebody just asked me how I was and then listened. So I think that goes under of the feeling and being willing to connect with somebody and just trust what's going to happen. Sort of like what Rick was saying with being with his dad. I thought that was just so wonderful. I'm just saying a little bit how thoughts are transient, but I don't necessarily hear that in somebody else. So that was kind of nice to hear that, yeah, just because somebody says something doesn't mean that's what they're imagining and what they're thinking in the moment. And it's
Mm.
all, oh, thanks for your smile.
Oh, I'm so grateful for my smile and yours too, Richard. I was gonna say, you got one of those, you know?
Takes one to know one, right?
Uh, yep. And honestly, we all do. Everybody's got that smile.
Yeah.
It just brightens, shines out when when we're we're here.
You could just be in the supermarket and you see somebody that you know walking around, they got the basket, they got the face on, and then you go, hi,
Mm-hmm.
boom, the smile pops right up. Yeah. Thanks for that
Yeah.
reminder. We all have it.
Yeah. And having someone listen to you, ask you how your day is, and actually listen to your response, it's not just prisoners who feel starved for that. It's a lot of people.
Mhm.
Some people can show up with in a conversation with me, and this isn't about me, probably any one of you too, and be like, this is like the most amazing conversation of my whole life. And it's not because there's no one to listen to them, it's because they're living in the feeling of their thinking. And a lot of that thinking is no one listens to me, or I'm alone, or whatever it is. And that's what they're feeling all day long. And you sit down with them and say, how are you doing? And actually listen, and they settle down and they stop thinking to that for a little bit. They stop thinking about all of it and they start feeling something much, much nicer. And the smile comes out.
Yeah. Mm. Something else just occurred to me, and that was your conversation about we make stuff up, then we believe it, and then we forgot we made it up, and we forgot we believe it. And I think it was the call with Aaron a while back, and he said, 90% of the time, I don't know what I'm thinking. And I really related to that, but I always know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like if the feeling isn't so great, it's like, well, there's something going on under the surface that I made up a long time ago. I have no idea what it is, but I know it doesn't have to stay, and I don't have to make a meaning out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. It's like I got to figure out what it was that I made meaning out of 50 years ago that I've long since forgotten about. I don't have to figure that out. So
Yeah, we can just live through the feeling and we know exactly where we are and what we're listening to.
I,
So cool.
I love making things complicated. And this is so simple.
Mm.
It's so doggone simple. Well, thanks for your presence. Thanks for doing this, and everybody that's sharing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Rick, I would love to hear.
Yeah, I was just relating to the smile story because I when I grew up, I had lost my two front teeth in a bit of an accident, and uh, so the dentist filled it in with silver caps. So when I smiled, it looked like I was missing two front teeth, and so I was constantly told, especially when a camera was around, not to smile. So I learned not to smile. And people would come up to me and they go, "Why are you so serious all the time?" And I says, "I'm not serious. I'm I'm happy." And he says, "Well, your face doesn't show it." Kind of a thing. It's like I know, it's like I can see the expression on your face. But it's and every once in a while I would forget I have no front teeth and start smiling. And then somebody would remind me, oh, it's like, why you've got it like that? I was, even to the point, like, it just became part of my life. I didn't even worry about it. I was in a new career, and I was like 27 years old, something like that. And somebody said to me, he says, why didn't you ever get your teeth fixed? As if it was something. And because it was just part of me, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's like, and then one day, my dentist was retiring, and he said to me, he says, how come you've never got your front teeth fixed? And I said, oh, I don't know. I really can't, I guess I can't afford it or whatever. And I never really investigated. And he says, how about if I fix it for you? No charge. Boy, was that, like, you talk about impact.
Oh, oh.
I said, you gave my smile back. It's like, and yeah, no, well, when you talk about impact, we really don't know what ripple we are having on people. Just a kind word in a grocery line, or a smile at a passerby. We absolutely have no idea, but I am certain, no matter how big or how small, we have an impact on people just by showing up. That's my smile story.
Wow. I bet if we each took a moment to share, we all have a story like that of someone who made a difference for us with something that they might never know. Maybe a teacher who saw us when it felt like nobody else did. A small act of kindness. Hmm.
Well, Steph, we just have a couple minutes left if you want to say anything in closing, or if you want to talk a little bit about what you do and opportunities for people to connect with you beyond this call.
Yeah. Well, first I want to ask you, Tom, is there anything that you want to share?
Well, thanks. Well, I mean, you've done it all. It really is. I keep going back to what Sydney Banks said about forgetting the words and just look for a feeling. And it's there. There's always something there. And I think sometimes we might hear that, but in the moment not look. Just say, oh, that's a good idea. I'll look later. But we can look right now. It only takes a second to look within. And I think, you know, there's always something there. And especially if you just do it in a nice, gentle way, not trying to force anything or look for a specific feeling. Because guess what? If you're looking within in a nice, gentle way, that feels good. Bingo. And you might find something else too, but it's just such a nice thing to do. And he also said that is what will give you understanding, is the feeling. So it's there. We all have it. And thanks, Steph, for reminding us, and for really, this has been very profound throughout, just being in this feeling throughout. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm glad you shared about that, Tom, because I wanted to hear it from you. Several things I have shared, things that I've felt and heard, insights I've had through Tom with other people, and they've had insights. And it's comforted them or made a difference to them. And it wasn't even mine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how the impact ripples out. Rick's smile story. Maybe one of us tells that story and spreads the ripple from that dentist. it's so simple and so kind. And just in my heart, I hope that you feel that a little bit more, so that you can let your smile shine in whatever way, let the wisdom and the message that's moving you move just a little more freely in the world. And I know what a difference it makes. And it's all okay too when we get caught up or when we don't do it. It's still there. It's still available. Just like Tom said, you just look inside in a gentle way. It's a nice feeling. It's like whenever someone looks for truth, it's there for them. It's not up to us. We don't have to do it. We get to. We don't have to because they already have it. That's what makes our job, if we choose to let it be a job, and a job makes it easy. It's already there. Well, how cool. Well, I will end with an invitation for you. There are two things that have occurred to me to share with you that I have going on. I'll put links in the chat. And the first is an experience called Catalyze, which is about really having an exploration as a group of what it is that creates impact and how it is that we show up impactfully with others. And it's very simple. It's what we're talking about here and having a deeper experience of that. So that's one thing, Catalyze. And the other thing is that monthly gathering I mentioned. It's a free gathering called Wellspring. And if you haven't attended, you're very welcome. It's a beautiful, intimate group, and I don't record the Zoom conversations. So that just felt right for that group for some reason. I started doing that after the first couple, and so we're all over. We often talk about death and life and the crazy things that happen as humans, and it's just beautiful. So I would love to have you in either of those if it moves you. And yeah, thank you so much for being here with me. Tom, thanks for hosting. It's always fun to hang with all of you.
Yeah, yeah. And before we say goodbye here, I just want to let you know of the next webinar. I'll be in about a month, Tuesday, June 18th, and it will be with Bill and Connie de Kramer, and it's always such a delight to see and hear them. So that's coming up. Check out the 3PG website, and there's a lot of other great stuff going on there. And so why don't you all just take the opportunity? You can unmute yourself if you like and say goodbye, and thank you to our friend Steph.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
You got the hearts. You got the floating hearts, Richard.